Hello, so I'm back again. My name is Ása and this is the course Lærum Íslensku or Let's Learn Icelandic. In this lesson number 5, Kennslutin nummer 5, we will talk about how to pronounce the letter N. I would say this is one of the more difficult that we have covered until now. But it's not so bad actually, it's not so horrible. So I think at the end of this lesson, especially if you try to practice a little bit along and do the homework, then by the end of this lesson I'm sure you get the hang of it and know it completely. Let's just get started. Samhljóðar, let's go. So let's just start with the simple things. When you have only one N, then it's not difficult. Okay, so when you have only one N, then it's very normal. And then for example, the very important word Nei, which means no, then the N is exactly the same as it is in English. Completely normal and not difficult at all. Another example is the word núna, and this means now. So you can have N at the beginning of the word, an N in the middle of the word, and at the end of the word, everything goes. Then if you have double N that comes after a short vowel, then you're sort of in the good to go. Then you don't have to worry. And by short vowel, I mean the vowels that do not have an accent plus Ö. Okay, so all the A, E, O, U, all the accents that don't have an accent on top, and then also Ö. And if you have two N's that come after this one, then it's normal. Then you just pronounce it normally. One example is the very, very important verb, one of the most important verbs in Icelandic, I dare to say, is the word að nenna. Að nenna. Very, very normal pronunciation. And this actually means to feel like it. Like if you feel like doing something, or if you don't feel like doing something. So it's a very, very widely used verb in Icelandic and it's pronounced very simply að nenna. Að nenna. Everything is still normal. Nothing strange has happened yet. Another example of a word with a simple vowel or a short vowel and then double N that sounds normal is the word un. And this means a semester, like a semester in school or whatever. Then we say un. Very simple, everything is normal. But that's where the normal ends. Okay, so this is where the normal ends and here we're off to unknown territories and this is the thing that is tough to teach. So basically, if you have the double N after a long vowel, so if you have it after a long vowel, which means all the vowels that have an accent on top, also A, and also A. If you have a double N after any one of these, then you get the funny sound like in the word it. Okay, it. And also it, which means one, which is the male form of the word one. And also, for example, in the way that we say Spain. So instead of saying Spain, like normal people, we say spot. Spot. And the trick to pronouncing this, I don't know what to call it, this strong double N or this long double N or whatever you want to call it, is that I would say at least 70% of the sound comes from the nose. So we're not really getting the sound mainly from the mouth. The bulk of the sound comes from the nose. So it's like you start to say like a normal N, so it's like A, but then before you actually say it, you have your tongue ready, exactly like you were about to say normal N. So you do like N, and then instead of doing anything with your mouth, you keep your tongue fixed in the position for N, and then you exhale sharply with your nose. So really most of the sound actually comes from the nose. It doesn't really come from mouth, especially when you end with double N. So you say it. So it's like you're really just blowing quickly with the mouth placed like you're about to say N. So it's like it. So you really need the nose. You cannot do it only with your mouth. You really need the nose. And I mean, like I say, I would say like 70% of the word of the sound comes from the nose. So it's it or spout. Spout, it. The sound has to come from the nose. There's no way around it. Another word is the word feet. Feet. And feet means like if you're nicely dressed up and you're a man, then you're feet. Feet. If you're nicely dressed up and you're a woman, then you're feen, and that is very easy to pronounce. But basically, yeah. But the trick is to also use your nose and be very aware of the fact that the nose plays the major role. However, when you have this double N after a long vowel, and then you have another vowel, then it becomes a little bit softer. One example of this is etne, etne. So this is basically one, but in a different grammatical form. It's female dative, but at the moment we don't care about this. Just focus on that. Just believe me when I say it's one and a different grammatical form of the word one. Then it's etne, etne, and then more of the sound comes from the mouth. I would say roughly 50%, something like this. Etne, maybe even more. And then it almost sounds like you have a double D and then an N. So it's almost like eight, like you're about to say double D, but then you change your mind midway and turn it to an N, and then the vowel. So it's like etne, 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 etne. And another grammatical form of the word one is, for example, etnar, etnar, which is the female form genitive, but it doesn't matter right now. So you say it. So when you end the double N, the sound of the nose is really strong, and this is the dominating one. But if you continue the word and you get another vowel after the double N, then it becomes slightly softer and it's more balanced between the mouth and the nose. So then you say it, and then etne, etnar. So like it's almost like double D and some kind of mixture like this. So just practice it. Say it, etne, etnar. Spout, feet, and then there's also the word tot, tot. And this means like a tone. Like a tone in music, we say tot, tot. So I don't think this exists in many languages. Maybe at least now I didn't realize that this was weird until I started teaching it with my language partner that I have in Italian, and I just pronounced it like it was normal, and then he was like, "What did you say?" And I was like, maybe that's not normal. Probably it's not normal. But I don't think it's so difficult to say once you get the hang of it, and just you get used to the feeling of actually having to speak with your nose. I think it's mostly fine-ish. The problem is that if you're supposed to say it, or any word with this strange, let's call it strong or nose, double N, and you use the normal N, odds are that native speakers will not understand you. So if you say ein, but you're trying to say the word it, nobody in the world will believe that you're actually trying to say the word it. We will just not make this connection. And it sounds like we're being complete assholes, because I mean, if you look at the spelling, it would make sense to pronounce it ein, but we don't make this connection. So we would never guess that somebody that says ein is trying to say the word it. We're really, really not trying to be jerks, but it's just like we've lived our entire life and we've never ever heard the person that's trying to say it pronounce it like ein, because it just doesn't happen among natives. It just doesn't happen. So we just don't make the connection in our brain. I think most people don't, unless they're really used to speaking to foreigners and things like this. So if people don't understand you, it's not because they're trying to be jerks or like willfully obtuse. It's just that this connection it's not obvious to us that if people say ein, that they are trying to say it, because it's such a completely different thing that we would not make this assumption that people are trying to say it. The good thing is that most words, especially that end with double N, they have another grammatical form that only has one N. So for example, it is one in the male form, but ein is one in the female form. And then, for example, spot is Spain, but spawn with a normal N is spot, but in a different case. So spot in the accusative. So normally people would just assume that you are mixing up the cases, or if you're mixing up the genders or something like this, and they will understand what you're saying, but they will automatically assume that you're messing up the cases, or that you're messing up the genders, messing up the grammar somewhere. Somehow they will not think that you're messing up the pronunciation, because they don't make this connection. I think most people don't. This would be fine if the story would end here. It doesn't end here, not completely, because sometimes when you have a consonant in front of the N, then we do this also. Okay. One of the clearest examples is when we have R and then N. Okay, so one very common word is the word barn. And as you can see here by the spelling, it's spelled B-A-R-N, but it's not pronounced barn. It's not pronounced barn. And in this case, if you would say barn, nobody would understand you, I think, unless the context was very, very clear. Everyone would assume that you are trying to say barn in English, which has a very different meaning, because barn in Icelandic means a child. So basically a child is barn. But always when we have this R and then N, then we do also this sort of the nose N, or the strong N. Another word is, for example, ört. So ört is an equal in Icelandic, and when we have this RN, then we also have this nose N, the nose N sound. And it's really important to get this correctly, or at least in the vicinity of correct, because otherwise people will probably not always understand you. Okay, so it's strange, but it is actually important. It's not just a matter of being a snob and needing to sound exactly like a native person, which I don't think is necessary at all. But you should still try to get it, because without the sound, or at least an attempt at the sound, you will not always be understandable. Okay. Finally, it's not only the combination R-N that forces you into this sort of the nose N sound. There are also other combinations, but these are with the letters that we haven't discussed before. So I sort of purposely discussed N now, and then I can bring up the complicated N when they are combined with other letters. But the basic rule is, if you have a consonant in front of the N and it's sort of difficult-ish to combine or pronounce together, you will, instead of pronouncing both consonants, you will pronounce it as bart or ört or gart. So gart means yarn, and usually you will use the strong N sound. So it's not actually impossible to learn, so just make sure to practice it, and then once you start learning Icelandic, and once we get more into it and learn more words, then you will get the feeling for it, when you should use this N and when you should use the other one. But the basic rules are what I already told you, but then there are some nuances, but these are details and we'll go over them later, so don't worry. Just focus on now on getting the sound, or at least roughly getting the sound. Okay, good luck! The first homework of today is a little bit difficult, but that's just because I believe in you. So here are 8 new words I did not mention before, and I want you to look at them and try to figure out which one of these actually use the strong nose N sound. Press the pause button and take all the time that you need. Now I'm going to assume that you try to do this, and I think it's very important that you try, even though you don't get everything correct. This will help to activate your brain, so you're not only listening passively, and this will also help you to realize what did you actually get from a lesson and where do you need to slightly brush up on. So the first word on the list is the word tinni. And because it comes after a simple vowel E, then the N sound is normal. Tinni. And Tinni is actually a name. And if you're familiar with European comics, then it's the Icelandic version of Tintin. The second word is the word grænn, grænn. And because the double N comes after I, then you have the strong nose sound. Grænn, grænn. And this actually means green in the male form, like the color green. The third word is the word fáni, fáni. And because there's only one N, this is completely normal. Fáni, fáni, which means a flag, like a national flag. Then we have the word fun, fun. And because the double N comes after an Ö, that means that the N is normal. Fun, fun. And this is a word for snow. On the second column at the top, we have the word fort, fort. And because we have the single N coming after a consonant, R, then we have the strong N sound. Fort, fort. And this actually means ancient, like really old. Next, we have the word hreinn, hreinn. And here again, we have the strong nose N sound because the double N comes after an A. Hreinn. And this actually means clean if you're a man. So a masculine form of the word clean. Next we have a verb, the verb að unna, að unna. And because the double N comes after a simple vowel without any accent, U, then the N is normal. Að unna. And this means to love. Then we have the final word of this list, and this is the word dødd, dødd. And because the double N comes after an Ö, then we have the strong nose N. Dødd, dødd. And this means a strong, typically not so pleasant smell. Dødd. That's all. I hope you managed to get at least a couple of them correctly. But even if you made some mistakes, that's completely normal because you're only starting to learn this. For the second part of the homework, we're going to do the same exercise as we did before. Here I show you the words that I talked about in this session. So now I want you to try to see if you remember how to pronounce them, but also what they mean. So press the pause button and then you can take all the time that you need. So now I'm going to give you the answer. First of all, we have nei, nei, which means no. Núna, núna, which means now. Að nenna, að nenna, which means to feel like it, to be bothered with, to be up to. Then there is the word un, which means a semester. Then we have the word gard, gard, which means yarn. Then we have many forms of the word one. First of all, the masculine form it, it. Then the feminine form ein, ein. And then two different grammatical forms of the female ein, which is etni, Einni and einnar. Einnar. Then we have the adjective fínn. Fínn, which means nicely dressed. And the female form is fín. Fín. Finally, we have the word tónn. Tónn, which means a tone. I hope you all managed to get most of them correctly. Otherwise, you can just practice one more time. Now let's end this with a quick summary slide. When you have a single N after a vowel, it is always normal. But when you have a single N after a consonant, typically it is not normal, meaning the strong nose N sound. But when you have a double N, it is normal only if it comes after a simple or a short vowel, meaning all the vowels that don't have an accent, and Ö, and the double N is strange when it comes after any other vowel. So I hope you remember these simple rules. Thank you.